But if it's in a way where you're saying, my universe run like clockworks forever, my words are pulled together, sudden change in the weather, the nature and the scale of events don't make sense, a storm with no warning, you're drawn in by immense gravity that's gone mad, clouds of dust and debris, moving at colossal speeds, they crush an MC. So you speak about the universe and planets, but you still incorporate the element of MCing.
And the mood and the feeling.
The feeling. Yes.
And so you've embraced the universe. A lot of cool vocabulary there. I make a big deal of the fact that our vocabulary is very accessible. The galaxies, the dwarf, the black hole, Big Bang. And a lot of them are even one syllables. I'm guessing that that makes it easier to rhyme and easier to pulse into a lyric.
Yes.
Rather than the words of geologists who are...
Of course. You know, Rakim, I usually quote him on some of his lyrics. And he had this line years ago, and this was in the 80s, where he said, I'm the creator of the alphabets, now let's communicate when I translate the situation straight. No dictionaries necessary to use. Big words do nothing but confuse and lose. So...
there it is.
Half short, twice strong.
Beautiful.
The only difference is if I use the word nova, I'll be speaking about a star, unlike the average rapper who will probably be talking about a car. Hip-hop from the 80s or this golden era, or even in the 90s, and the majority of the MCs that were out there, they were mostly lyrical. Even my first trip I made to the Bronx, one of my first trips to the South Bronx from Staten Island.
Born and raised in the Bronx. Yeah.
It was around 11, and we had 2 MCs in our whole borough of Staten Island. And when I got to the Bronx, a whole bunch of MCs. You know, I have this line where I say, I was born with the mic in my hand, and I took it from Brooklyn to the SI land. I pulled up on the block, got out the truck. It was the first of pit stops, the era of the spinning top, around the birth of hip-hop. That was something I had identified with, so I made it my point to exploit this fly gift. And me and the RZA made trips to the BX, a mass of ferocious MCs, town of T-Rex, giants in every ways, rap flows for every day. We knew we would get a reward with a price to pay. The basic training was beyond entertaining, just a cadence of verbal expression, self-explaining. So those are my early days of traveling to the Bronx, but they had this mass of ferocious MCs, and everyone was so lyrically good that it only made us sharpen our sword. Nowadays, it's not like that. I mean, I hear stuff you hear.
So they're not as literate.
No,
that's what you're saying.
At all.
Do they still have ideas? They just don't know how to express it? Or
I think many imaginations are sterile at the time.
Why?
Because you're not producing anything new. Like
they don't have a muse.
It's the same thing.
The universe is talking to you, and you're responding.
Yes.
They've got nothing talking to them.
They just they don't hear. You know, when your parents say, "You're not listening to me," you know they're speaking. You hear the sound, you feel the vibration, but it's not resonating.
That doesn't get in there.
No.
So the universe is talking to you every day.
Of course.
Now,
not only the universe, the earth, people, planets, objects, beings. I'm inspired by all. You know, I once said, in a lecture when I was speaking about inspiration, I can be inspired by the spider because his web is 50 times or 20 times